Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
Well, here's the pedals. What I'm going to do here...
Hello, Mr. Aaron Farley. Did you know that today is Monday, April 8th?
I did. I was just looking at my calendar earlier, and I was like, wow.
Can it be April 8th already?
April 8th already. And 1 week after April Fool's.
Oh, my God, I know. And there's also a solar eclipse that is happening today. Have you looked at it yet? Have you gone outside?
Have we seen it yet?
It depends what time you're listening to this podcast, I suppose.
This is true.
Yeah.
But when we're making this podcast, have we seen it yet? I think so.
I think I have glasses in the mail. I have some dark glasses to look at it. So hopefully they will arrive here before the event itself actually happens.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go outside and look through the cardboard box.
Yeah,
a cardboard box with a hole in it, I think.
What are your official feelings about solar eclipses and general eclipseness?
I'm pro eclipse.
You're pro eclipse, okay.
I'm definitely pro eclipse. I'm into it.
I could say I'm a little over it. I feel like there's more of them now than there used to be.
Weird.
It's happening all the time. I don't know why it's so many eclipses.
Like supermoons and the wolf moons and all that stuff. I don't remember any of that. I feel like that was all created by big astrology.
Right, or tropical...
big astronomy. Not astrology.
The astrology is going to get pissed. That nothing to do with us, man. We're made up like crystals and planets and shit. We're Jupiters. Don't talk about sun stuff.
Do you think that astronomy and astrology like have big battles?
Oh, all the time. But except it's like Einstein versus Lord of the Rings. I think is
that's about the same.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
one of
them way more fun, and one of them way more important.
Yeah, I think that's the differential between astronomy and astrology.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's also what's the super moon or no when you have with the tropical storm or atmospheric river.
Oh yeah,
that's a new thing.
River.
Those didn't exist before. Atmospheric rivers and now all these eclipses. I feel like we just had one like a year or two ago, and I like the trees where you can if you see the shadows of the trees, they all kind of look like bananas. Yeah. They all kind of get like little Cheshire cat grin things.
Yeah.
That was fun to see.
I mean, that was the only full eclipse I feel like that's ever happened in my lifetime that I've been able to see. Because I don't remember
the last couple ones.
No, just like the full. Because that one that happened. I don't know. I mean, we are on the computers. We could look it up, but let's not.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend. Let's say, I'm going to say that was, let's see, it was when I was living in Echo Park.
So it was like years ago.
So
yeah. I'm
going to say so it had to be at least 7 years ago. So I'm going to say that was 1994.
So yeah, I mean, I went to Google and it says, the question is, how often is a total solar eclipse? And it says every 18 months. That's like a year and a half.
Oh, I guess it is. I guess it matters where you are in the world.
That's the more strategic part of this thing. It's it's where you are and how you can see it. If you're in Los Angeles, we're just getting to see more of them.
It just happened to be the centrality of it was over Los Angeles, I guess. I don't know.
I see.
But it was, I liked it. I don't know. I thought it was cool to have everybody out on the street just like looking at the sky. It's kind of it's like one of those weird things that only happens in like sports games and music live shows where you get a couple thousand people out looking at the same thing for a while.
It is a commonality, right? Which is a rare thing in our fraction media.
Yeah, but this was nobody had any control over it. You're just watching you're watching. I mean, it's not considered the weather. What would that be? An event,
the holy bodies, astronomical.
Astronomical event
Yeah.
that is uncontrolled by humankind, and everybody just sits out there and watches and goes,
Ooh.
"Wow, what's the chance of this?" Turns out once every 18 months.
but also quickly turns political when you see pictures of Trump staring at this eclipse without the glasses on. Yeah, it quickly is made human again. What is heavenly is often sent crashing down to earth by human folly. On every level.
Have a way of making things is
about themselves.
The right word?
Yeah.
Is that the definition of trite? I don't know.
Yeah, tripe. I think tripe is the pig guts. Trite.
Yeah,
is
that's the inside of the stomach lining.
Yeah, trite is insignificant.
Yes, it'd be like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Like, yeah, but listen to who farted.
Oh yeah. Trite is a good word. It is overused or consequently of little import, lacking originality or freshness. Yeah. I could see how the point is now a little obvious and trite. It's kind of like the solar eclipse. It's a little trite. Yeah, it's overused and consequently a little. I mean, nothing really happens. That's the other thing of it too. Like, wow. Yeah. And then you're kind of like, did that change anything? Am I supposed to?
Speaking of, I've gotten to be of the age that I now get like junk email about like questions of whether we really landed on the moon.
Oh no!
Yeah, and of course I click on them. It's actually through this thing called Quora. Do you know what this is?
I don't even know it's like Google. It's like where
people people like ask questions and then people can.
Yeah.
It's like message boards, but it's really horrible.
Oh yeah.
But I still click on it because I'm like, oh my god, what are people? Okay, so people are still on the fake moon landing thing. And they go through it, and then it's like, well, I'm a professor of such and such, and here's exactly what happened with the moon. And
I'm a professor of bullshit, and this is bullshit.
Yeah. and one of the things is that people, one of the questions is always like, well, if we could just go to the moon, why did we just stop going to the moon?
Oh God.
And like, oh, it must have been fake, blah blah blah. And the real answer is that people got bored.
It became trite.
People stopped watching.
But is that why we went in the first place? To just for entertainment purposes? Like, well, hey, look, we were
doing, supposedly they were getting rocks and getting
some science,
and
understanding
seismic data of what's the moon made out of and all of that kind of stuff. And then after I think they went up 4 times for the human missions. And after the 4th one, everybody just stopped watching. People were like, oh yeah, the moon. But I feel like even the space shuttle was that way, right? Like all of a sudden people were like, the astronauts are coming down from the space shuttle. And I'm like, wait, the space shuttle was up there?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. I remember sitting in class like, oh my God, the space shuttle is going to launch, and they had it on TV and everybody was watching. And I watched the one that blew up when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, the Challenger, Sally Ride.
In class, and like goes up, blows up, and they're like, "Woo, turn the TV off real quick. We're gonna. This is a tragedy.
This is news. This is not what we were looking for."
I mean, that might have been one of the first of my childhood that I would remember, like a really big tragedy that everybody was watching at the same time.
Yeah, we were too young for assassinations or even Reagan getting shot, which didn't kill him, but at least but we were too young for that.
Reagan didn't happen live while everyone was watching. It wasn't like an event, and nobody even saw the Kennedy assassination until like 20 years later.
Oh wow! Yeah, but they heard about it. Yeah, they have the Cronkites and the things. Yeah,
this is true. They did.
It's a sad day in Dallas.
Wait, our president died?
Yeah, my one of my new favorite conspiracy theories I just saw was you never see your neighbors bring in the groceries because they're not real. Because neighbors aren't real. They don't actually eat food. And because they're part of the simulation, you only choose to see what you think is interesting, and your neighbors eating is not interesting.
Bringing groceries in.
You never, and if you ever have, it's only because you've interacted with them in some place, in some way around food, and therefore it's become of interest to you. And so the simulation will say, "Oh, you must need to know this information." But in general, people do not need to know when their neighbors buy groceries because it has no effect on them.
Well, I do see my neighbors at the grocery store. That
Okay.
happens often.
But did you see? But do they bring it in the house? Did they actually buy food? Did they eat it?
See them? I've seen them in line before.
Yeah, I've done that. I've bumped into people.
Social. And it's awkward. It's always awkward.
Yeah.
Bumping into someone at the grocery store is like, I just wanted to get in and out. And neither of you want to talk to each other necessarily, because everyone's like, you're like, I got 20 minutes.
This is quick.
I got a bunch of stuff to do. I'm not here to talk. But then you're like, well, if I don't talk, but really, if everybody just made that we don't talk in the grocery store, like if a grocery store was like a public restroom, right? Mm-hmm. You go in. You get your business done and you go out. There's no talking in the bathroom.
You don't need eye contact.
Every once in a while, there's the one awkward guy that's like, oh man,
too much communication.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this one for a while, and you're like, oh, buddy.
No, please.
Can we just
keep that to yourself?
Just keep it to the front.
Yeah.
Pretend we don't look anyone in the eye. You wash your hands. Get out of here. And then we can talk outside like nothing happened. I feel like the grocery store should kind of be like that.
I always feel like there's like a judgment. If you see somebody at the grocery store, like they're going to judge what kind of garbage food you're eating.
Yeah.
When they're probably eating the same stuff, but.
I had a friend who would never buy bulk toilet paper during the day, just in case someone saw him buying toilet paper at the grocery store. So he'd only buy toilet paper at night.
Wow. That is extra. That is extra.
Amazing. And when I found out, it kind of I felt a lot of shame, because I'm like, wait, are people judging me for my toilet paper buying? And how many
Everybody needs it.
How many times have I bought toilet paper during the day when people are looking at me going,
and they're all thinking that guy shits.
You better get home quick.
Especially bulk. Like you need bulk toilet paper for an emergency. You're buying a giant pallet of it. Like it must be an emergency. You must need that all right now in one use.
Exactly. Well, and that is one of the things when you look, you're like, toilet paper is such a horrible price if you buy just the 4. Right?
Oh,
it's just it's so expensive.
You can't do it.
But you're like, well, I should buy the 32 pack or whatever, even though I don't even have a cupboard that will hold it. So then you have to put it in different cupboards in the house.
Yes.
Like if you have a couple bathrooms, you're like, okay, how many can I fit in here? How many?
Yeah.
And then you
keep the rest of it in the garage.
The sink or in the garage. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you're just going to get judged the whole time. Like sometimes you need a whole different cart. You're like, did I get the big cart so I can get toilet paper? Because everything else I could fit in the basket.
Costco, baby. I buy 2 of them at a time.
Well,
stock up for like 2 months.
Anyone at Costco.
That's it. It's a judgment-free zone.
That's actually a good call.
Get away with it.
If you're going to buy, you should get the $50 Costco membership just for toilet paper for the year. It's worth it.
And what else? Like just buy giant cartons of condoms. I'm trying to think where other have embarrassing things and some kind of
maybe fiber,
some kind of laxative.
Jars of fiber. Yeah. Fiber laxative.
Well, I also like that there's toilet paper math. There's always some kind of math on the graphic on the front of the toilet paper. Like now, even bigger, 32 rolls equals 18 plus rolls or whatever. There's always
32 rolls, double the roll, but double
super
the
absorbent. Yeah, they're thicker now, so you don't need as much. So they're smaller rolls, but you get more.
But the rolls are kind of the same size.
Always, you put it on there.
Then, it's not like it doesn't fit on the roller.
But you're getting more though. It's better value.
They're saying more, and I wonder if they're saying it's thicker, but then it's actually just shorter.
Yeah,
it's thicker paper, but then it's a shorter.
Oh my god!
Shorter we should. We
should look into this. That's going on the list. The conspiracy theory
YouTube
list.
YouTube video conspiracy theory.
Also, the
real thing is,
do
your neighbors buy toilet paper? That even goes deeper. Probably.
Well, if they're not eating, they're definitely not shitting. I can tell that for sure. That's how physics work. If they're not real, you don't have to worry about that.
That's the kind of physics I'm talking about.
That's it.
That's that astrology physics.
That's the good stuff. So let's get into last week's guest, the one Miss LG.
Yes.
What did you think? How amazing and awesome is she? I feel like she totally owned me by the end. You are a noise artist. Just own it. And I was like, oh God, this is this is great. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, you're right.
I can admit this.
I like the outro. How you just said there just needs to be a noise band.
Anonymous.
Yeah. NBA.
Hi, Randy.
The NBA. Noise Band Anonymous.
Yep. I'm in a noise band. And it's been several decades. I enjoy loud music that no one else listens to.
Yeah. I mean, I played loud, but sometimes I have quiet songs. Sure you did, Randy.
Sure,
How
you did.
loud?
Yeah.
How loud were the quiet songs, Randy?
Yeah.
They were still loud.
Yeah.
They were really loud.
Well,
They
once
were
what?
really,
Yeah.
really loud.
Once there was a girl at the show. Sure, there was. Sure,
Yeah.
there was. Yeah.
Yeah. Did
Well,
she also play in a noise band, Randy? Yeah. That
yes. Yeah,
doesn't.
she did.
That's
Doesn't
part
count
of
as
it.
audience.
That's yeah.
Well, the audience is always just the other bands. I mean, that goes without saying.
This is true.
There are no actual real audience members. It's just the other bands there to see you at your noise show.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, she's amazing, isn't she?
She's amazing. Yeah.
I remember when I first saw her band. When I first saw her band at South by, I was just like, this is by far like the best band I had seen that whole festival. And, you end up seeing like whatever 80 bands in 2 weeks or 2 weekend days.
Yeah.
But she was great.
I mean,
she totally stood out. It was incredible.
And what I think, yeah, totally. And I what I enjoyed, because I haven't seen any footage of them play live or anything, so I listened for a while, and then I went and watched like some live footage on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
And was like, oh yeah, of course. Okay, got it. Like this is
badass.
This is just insane. And I love a good no frills rock band. Like a band that's like this. Yeah, it's not bar rock. It's not blues rock. It's not just like it's just like heavy riffs, loud, and like, catchy chorus here and there, couple solos, and just like 1,000 pounds of energy.
Totally.
Just like,
her voice is amazing. I mean, I didn't think about it until she called it out in the interview, but talking about Janis Joplin, that she could just do that all day long when she was starting out busking.
And she looks like her. I mean, she does. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I kind of look like Janis Joplin. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, which one is she in the band? Oh, there's Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
There's like a younger, more like less out of it looking Janis Joplin.
Yeah, well, I know. Poor Janis. I feel like some of those photos you get towards the end.
Oh man, I mean, sad. But she was so young too.
Such a powerful voice.
Yeah. But it was, it's cool. I mean, and I think it's great to hear those interviews when people are doing it themselves, and like how hard it really is, and not even just necessarily the day to day, but just emotionally going through, like when she's talking about all of the work that she put into the last record, and that people were just like not having it, or she felt that way. Oh, nope. Of course. Remember when I told you my dog and cat like to
like to know
fight
what you're
office?
Up to? Yeah.
Let me go open the door real quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I appreciated LG's just DIY-ness, just about being such a badass. There.
I think okay? I think what happens is the dog starts a fight with the cat, because then she knows I'll get up and let them both outside.
Nice.
So they can go and bark at the neighbors.
That's it. Yeah. We need to bark at somebody else. Let's start barking at each other. So let us out. I was just saying, LG just said, it's total DIY, total badassness. Totally. But again, how do you, I think it's that thing, that's, I scratch my head often at what does it even mean to be in a band now? And like, the idea of, touring town to town with a badass show with great music and, great musicians on stage. That's the goal. That's the beginning and the end. That's, if you can do that, you're winning, but it now seems like there's so much more in the social media side of things, or the streaming stuff. And like, do you actually sell things, and how do you, really build an audience? And those are the questions I don't know the answers to, but she's out there doing it.
Yeah. And there's just a lot more competition for eyeballs. It's like where I know we've talked about this, ad nauseum. Is that another term that I can use?
That's great. Yes. Yeah.
Trite and ad nauseum today. We'll have a vocabulary test at the end of this. I will fail. Yeah. And, but that it is, it's tough, because I think even 20 years ago, before social media and everything, that there wasn't that much competition for, you had television, you had cable, you had movies, and you had like live music or going out to dinner.
Yeah.
Those were kind of like video games or whatever.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, like, live music was in a lane of its own. So people that went out to see bands were like, that's what you did. That was your like Friday or Saturday or weekday nights or whatever. You'd go see bands. And I think that that's a little, there's just more going on now. And also, like, people are so stuck on their phone, including myself, that I'll figure, be like, "Oh, I've been sitting scrolling through Instagram for 30 minutes, like, and didn't even realize it." And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just are like, "Oh, I'm just going to stay home." Honestly.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, the couch,
I
you're fighting
think,
the couch as you get older too. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
think it just happens in general, but I
Well, and
don't
it
know.
gets harder for the bands too, because everything's more expensive. I mean, it's expensive to go from city to city now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
twice as expensive for gas and I'm sure insurance for the clubs, all that stuff. Everything is so much more expensive,
Yeah.
and it's more expensive even for people to go out. So it's like you either choose, like, well, do I want to go to dinner, or do I want to watch a band? Because dinner now is going to cost me like $50 minimum.
If you're lucky, yeah, that's a whole other
Yeah,
thing. But I feel like, but with a band name like Thelma and the Sleaze, like how do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Maybe how are you passing that up? Or it's a younger person's game too. I think we're obviously
totally.
we've aged out many solar eclipses ago. We're
Yes,
we're
yeah,
post we're 10 solar eclipses too old for this conversation to really be
yes,
non-trite. But
yes.
but I think yeah, there's just so much energy and they love the name too. You're like, what you're getting. You're like, okay, this is
Oh,
badass
totally.
women and it's raunchy and it's fun and they're having a great
Super fun.
time. It's it's
Totally.
queer and the
Yeah.
southernness of it all, and I just think it's I don't know. I just love that kind of thing that doesn't ask permission. That just this is what we are. This is everything,
Exactly.
and just kind of lets it all hang out there. I think that's a lot of fun as a
Totally.
rock
Well,
band.
and even how she's like, all I need is a van, and as long as I get a van, I can just keep this thing going forever. And I
Yeah,
think that that's the true, like, there's just those little expenses
right.
that sometimes, I don't know. I don't know
It's
how you make
it's
money doing
crazy.
any
Yeah,
of this stuff.
vans were always tricky for me because I think we had it good as a two piece.
Yeah.
We didn't really need a lot of room, and so
I
we
guess I,
we we had a van with the band before. And the thing with owning a van is, you're on the road maybe a quarter of the year.
yeah.
If you're lucky in the states where you're actually using the van, and then the rest of the time it just sits there, and you got to pay insurance on it. You got to move it. You got to make sure it's not getting parking tickets. You got to do the
Yeah.
upkeep, the oil changes, the new tires, all of those things. And it when I was doing the math of it all, it was, especially living in LA, and as much as we were touring, it still didn't make any sense, and we didn't need all that space. I think if you have 14 people, you need to cart around everywhere, and
Yeah.
maybe there's some reason for that, but for us, we just rented shitty little minivans, and it was great
Yeah.
because we'd put all the miles on those things, and then just give them back. We didn't need it,
Yeah.
and
Because
so
even if you're using that van and you're thinking you can sell it at the end, by the time you're done with it, it's going to have 300,000 miles on it, and
it's trashed. Yeah,
you're going to have paid so much into it that it's not worth, like, you're not even making your money back.
and we were getting, especially back then too. It was under $1,000 for the week. Like maybe you'd go, $100 a day, something like that. Maybe 100 and some. This is what you're looking for. So it's $700
Yeah.
for the week. You do 2 weeks. You're $1,500, and again, that could have go towards something that you own, but then there's all the other money that comes with it. Like at the end of the day, I mean, okay, so if we, you spend $2,000 a year on a thing, after 8 years, okay, that's eight, whatever, that's
Yeah.
the price of a new van.
Yeah.
But then there
You're
was
not
nothing.
really making your money back.
That's how that was the math we did. I don't know.
Yeah.
It made sense, especially because we didn't need much. We didn't need the rest of it at the time, and just all the pain in the ass. Well, whose van is it? And can I borrow the van? I got to move something, and oh shit,
Yeah.
you got a dent on the van, and it's all
Yeah.
the conflict with it being in a band is hard enough, and then having to like share a vehicle between these bunch of knuckleheads.
Co-owning a vehicle is the end.
Right.
End of many bands.
That's the end of it. Any kind of healthy psychology. Like, oh shit, somebody left their fucking shit in the van.
Yeah. Wait, so now you're sleeping in the van? Well, then shouldn't you be getting?
You should be
giving the
paying
band
more.
rent?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's just sitting there.
Yeah. But I had to fill it up. Well, yeah. All that stuff. But when it's a rental, it's all one big expense, and then you give it back at the end, and everybody goes on their separate ways, and you're fine.
Yeah.
But if that makes sense for her, and it sounds like, I think she really runs the Thelma and Louise or Thelma and the Sleaze ship, as a benevolent dictator. It's her band, it's her shit.
Yeah,
so
totally.
So it works for her. Good on her. I think that's.
Yeah.
I think we always got caught up in the democracy, the fugaziness of a band.
Yeah.
And it just.
Which
never
is
worked.
tough when everything's 50-50.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the third person to overrule anything.
Oh, right. With that kind of stuff. Yeah. As a duo, then it's a whole other thing. Yeah. Then we're basically just dating at that point.
Dating on the road.
Yeah. The democracy of a 2-person relationship just means it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
One person's going whatever, and one person gets what they want. Like,
yeah.
Okay, fine. You want to eat here? Sure. But I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to fight about this. Like, how many fights do you want to have in a day?
Yeah. Can we just get in the rental? Can we get in the rental van and just go, please?
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes a war of attrition at some point.
Yeah.
But I loved LG's story, and it sounds like, it sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know, at least from the outside, just doing all the crazy stuff and playing the shows and just going out there.
Totally.
Like you always say, like bands are like pirates. I really feel like LG is that living embodiment of being a pirate. When she's not on the road, she's painting and just doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. 1,000% trying to figure out how to, I mean, even when she was just talking about doing the promo ideas for the records and how she set up like a full jousting match.
Yeah.
For the last record, like
a wrestling thing too. Yeah.
Like wrestling and jousting and all of the stuff. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going into this.
I love it. I mean, the music videos.
Amazing. I'm always surprised. I'm always like pleasantly surprised when I hear people that put that much work into like what's basically like a personal project that's gotten big enough to be your job, but then done it for so many years and like keep going and have ups and downs but still like her energy is just like, yeah, of course someone asked her if she wanted a podcast the second that they met her, because then like, yeah, you should probably like also be talking to people because I think people would listen.
Yeah. Oh no, I love that. I pulled that out. I pulled that as a pull quote when she said, I was like, I should have a podcast. I like hearing myself talk.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Yeah, no, her podcast is great though too. I love it. She runs it so differently too than this. Like, it's not an interview show or just a straight kind of like podcast. She kind of looks at them as like resources and does seasons or like based around specific ideas, which I think is so cool. And is so that you could use that if you're like trying to start a band or like trying to learn about guitar or anything, she like interviews people or has topics where she talks about as like like something to learn.
Yeah, no, I love that. And even when she was talking about the, she did do a show about gear, and that I haven't watched, but it sounds even interesting of like, well, I wanted women to feel like they had a resource where they could learn about gear and not feel like alienated by a bunch of dudes, which completely seems like something that would be like interesting and cool and needed. And also when she was like, yeah, all the gearheads didn't like it because it wasn't serious. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's like you're preaching to the wrong crowd. Because have you ever seen the like guitar? Like, well, here's the pedals. What I'm going to do here is we have a multi-phase, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, but do you play guitar? Well, yes. And you're like, okay, got it. So you're playing guitar just to play the pedal, basically.
Yeah.
And so to hear her frustration with that of like, but I do think that there is like a personality that she has that I feel like if she finds that whatever that thing is, like that lane that she is in could be really like, I mean, she's just like pushing through 1,000%.
Done amazing things. Yeah. No, I mean the whole gear thing is such a mind fuck too. Cause I think it's like, there's not any one audience, you know what I mean? Like music is made by, it's this open kind of sourced thing. Like anybody can make it from any kind of, skill level to understanding level. Like you don't really need to know what the pedal does in order to play it, or you know what I mean, or know what the guitar is made out of, or the amp is made out of. The once you get into the guts of these things, I think it works in the sense of like just not getting ripped off and knowing why something costs as much as it does, or why it costs as much as you need it to get fixed. And I just always equate that back to like cars or something. I feel like I didn't know anything. Like I didn't really learn any of this stuff as a kid. But I knew, but you had to learn. I had to learn like, oh shit, I don't have enough money to fix my car. So what do I need to really know about this? And I feel like that's the one thing with like the internet being what it is now. It's such a huge resource. Like you probably could watch a YouTube video and learn how to change, your alternator, your starter, your brake pads, for anything.
Oh, definitely.
And have a step-by-step guide do it. I mean, for all the dumb stuff I've done around the house, like stuccoing or like doing drywall. I don't know anything about drywall, but there's this one channel, the guy's great and just doing handyman shit around the house. I'm like, this is awesome. And,
I'll be digging a French drain this summer or this spring. So yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
From YouTube.
You'll be watching a lot of the same YouTube channel and go back again. Like,
I may also be flooding my basement. But that's okay.
That's part of the process. They don't tell you that
from experience.
Yeah. You should document it. This is your reaction video. Yeah.
My reaction video to actually
doing
this
it.
Is what he showed me. It's like one of those burger, like when you see the photo of the burger and then you actually see what the burger looks like.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah.
This is how it really turned out. Oh, it's a mess. But I feel like, that's the same sort of stuff with gear and that kind of thing too. It's like you need to have a million videos and a million voices about all these things, just because there's no one person, there's no one audience, there's no one user, there's no one way to understand it. And there's no one. It's not a right or wrong. It's just what you like to do.
And I feel like there can be personality can drive that stuff, and sometimes that turns some people off who take things very seriously, but then also can get a big audience of people who are like, oh my God, finally someone who's not taking this so seriously and fun, and it's fun, but it's still learning. Like I'm still learning something.
Yeah. Well, I feel like PRS guitars is one of those kind of places. I'm just like, if I ever get a PRS guitar, a Paul Reed Smith guitar, I mean, I know they're technically this, this kind of thing to look at, all those things. But if I ever show up with one of those, I'm like, oh no, I've gone too far.
You're a serious guy.
I've become blues lawyer, or I've become, something. I don't know.
Yeah, look at that weird headstock.
I mean, I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they do lots of good stuff. Same with like Ibanez or, Jacksons or all these things, I just come from a time where like, I got stuck in a punk rock indie hole. But again, and those are all just copies of 60-year-old guitars, and who knows if they're any good anyway. But that's funny how I got locked into.
They really do, like those companies really do have like a personality that they hold on to forever. Like, well, that's not, I mean, I used to get into this with photo stuff all the time of like pitching things and be like, well, that's not really the personality of the company. Like we're a little bit more like clean lines. And it's so funny when you just think of that, like, how did this happen? Did it just work? Like it worked once at one point, and then everybody that they hired just gravitated towards that. Like, so they only hired people who could understand that, and then eventually like you've built this person that is like has like an external personality with all these people inside it. And it's weird. like Fender and Gibson, two totally different feels, right? Of like different, I mean, tones and all that stuff too, but it's like even just the company of the, like, if you show up with a Stratocaster versus showing up with a SG, it's like, okay, all right, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like that's a good starting point. Now what? Now where? Okay. How are you going to play that Fender? What are your pedals like?
Oh my God.
Like it's weird though. But yeah, like a Jackson or an Ibanez, like it's kind of like a call, or what do you call it? Like when someone's like shows their first guitar when they're a kid and it's like a super shredder Ibanez.
Yeah.
Like,
it's great.
And now it's like, oh, that's amazing. You must have, like, you were
must
ready.
Have loved that.
Like you got that and we're just like, I can't wait to grow my hair out, tease it up a little bit. I'm gonna like, get that like super metal-y, what's like a Boss? What's like the metal pedal?
Oh, hold on. I'll show you.
Now, Randy, this is where we need a second camera in Randy's studio where it walks to the gear closet. Or the gear metal zone. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, right. Sorry. Here, I'm back.
I was thinking of the metal zone.
Oh, yeah. The metal zone is great. But I think the Thrashmaster is probably more what.
Oh, the Thrashmaster.
This was my first. Yeah, the DoD pink, fluorescent pink Thrashmaster. This was my first pedal.
Amazing.
This was going to Guitar Center in '93 and asking for a distortion pedal. And this is what I was was recommended.
Yeah. They're like, here we go.
Here we go. I'm now a Threshmaster. But if you really want metal, then you can go Marshall the Governator.
Oh,
this is like the old 80s. Yeah, this is what the real metal sounds like. But exactly. There's also Metal Zone but again, it's so funny. But you know who I think if I had to have a diatribe or an opinion about this particular topic, the whole like old Fenders as like pawn shop guitars, all the Sonic Youth, they would have these like great 60s Jaguars and Jazz Masters, because they were just cheap. They were the $200 or $100 guitar you could just find at any shitty pawn shop, and you just buy a shitty guitar, but they made them so iconic, and then so then they were to be re-released and then become fetishized, as all things kind of happen. It's the sort of gentrification of cheap bullshit.
Yeah.
But then by the time I get to them, by the time I'm being marketed to as a teenager in the 90s, like, this is, I'd love those guitars, but they're all like thousands of dollars now, or even the new ones, or the reissues of all those things. So I remember when I first saw Modest Mouse, they had like shitty Jacksons and like shredder guitars, and they were playing. And I was like, really? those were the like, or at least Isaac did, those were the shitty guitars you'd actually, if you went to a pawn shop in '94, you weren't finding 68 Jazz Masters and and those kinds of cool guitars that were cool. By that point, it was all just like shitty hair metal guitars. But I remember Isaac from Modest Mouse played those, and I was like, that is so lame. But then it kind of, if I had to be honest about it, I was like, that's actually, he was living the principle, not the image of it. Like, I just need a crappy guitar. Here's a crappy guitar, and it sounds crappy. And it sounds like shit.
He was probably getting like a $500 guitar for $200 because nobody wanted a Jackson.
That's it, exactly.
And it was like, the Jackson's fine. It's fine for what we're playing.
It works. That was the whole point. It was to just buy the shitty pawn shop, the cheapest guitar you could find, and just play those. Versus, because it always felt a little bit like posery, like, oh yeah, I got this like Squire, like 3-tone sunburst thing, like it's just a crappy guitar, and like, well, the Squires maybe were, that's they think they made the intros, but I think more than any guitar, I think for my era, it was the Olympic white Jimi Hendrix Strat, those Squire versions of those, the white on white ones. I feel like those were just flooded. There must be millions of those everywhere. From 91 till 2020, they're probably still just made everywhere. Maybe a red one every once in a while. I
always felt weird about Strats, and I don't know why. I think it was because of that, even though
they're everywhere, right?
Big Jimi Hendrix fan, but it was more. I don't know why. I feel like maybe it was because it was like the guys playing at the bar, the blues guys playing at the bar, always had the Strat, and it was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There was something. I think there was
Telecaster was cool though.
It was a little alternative, a little something different.
Yeah,
but just the whole thing with Strats, where it was like, okay, even if you do like Jimi Hendrix and you get it and it's your first guitar as a kid, the shame, like cone of shame that kind of comes around, like just being a kid learning guitar and sitting there with this like really beautiful, shiny, new, whatever it is, Strat. I think just never, like, and then eventually, fast forward some 5 years later and you actually learn how to play. Like, it's almost like you just need to like never look at that Strat again. You're like, I'm sorry. Whatever the learning curve that I needed to go through, what happened, experienced on that guitar, I never want to look at those again. I think if I had to be really honest about why I hate Strats so much, it was just so much of the awkward adolescent shame of being horrible at guitar.
You just got a Strat again recently, didn't you?
Me, no.
Oh, I thought you did.
I don't think so.
A couple years ago.
Did I buy a Strat?
I don't think so.
Did I? No.
I think you did.
Did I?
I think you bought a Strat.
I bought a Telecaster. I bought a Telecaster. I've never actually bought a Strat. I've never bought a Strat. I have one that was given to me. It was a hand-me-down.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. I was given a Strat.
No, I was given a Strat. Yeah. Let me just make this very clear. So here we are, two guys talking about serious guitar talk.
Yeah, this is
serious gear talk. This is what
this is what it comes down to.
Of what LG was talking about.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing too. I think there is a lot of space. I love She Shreds Media. It was kind of like a blog and magazine. It was all just about celebrating women artists and it just, I think it's all just part of that, just normalizing all of that stuff and like the questions and concerns and issues that I think women have in music and around gear and everything. It's just 100% as two old white men, say like who gives it's not us. Like I don't need to hear more old white men talk about gear. I'd love to hear more women, LGBTQ people of all colors, all races, creeds. I think it's great because music, that's what, there's diversity there and there's a lot to learn about it.
Well, yeah. And I do think that dudes, and white dudes in particular, are so used to just the conversation happening in one place at one time all the time, and it's usually between white dudes in like media or whatever, that these things are getting broken up, and I think it's showing more interest. I mean, I think the more things, the more people, the more women that have a say in all of these things, the more that music and anything creative will change for the better. Because I think that there can be kind of a controlling aspect of like what you're supposed to talk about or what you don't say or what, and then once you hear that there's all these other people that just haven't had a voice, and then you go, oh yeah, right, okay, maybe this isn't so serious.
Right.
Maybe we can't just have these, maybe we've been having these conversations in a vacuum this whole time, and actually all the interesting shit that's happening is going on over here, and these people have never even had a platform. And once they get a platform, you're like, oh, this is like a totally different, there's like completely different lanes and completely different points of view, and more interesting stuff happening, more interesting music happening, because all of that stuff is happening, and there's like little bubbles, and once those bubbles come up, and you're like, oh yeah, right, I didn't even know this was happening or these conversations were happening.
It's also a question too of like the relevancy of even guitar in 2024. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing too, where it's like, I think there's a lot of ways that it is an antiquated, piece of equipment, that isn't necessarily relevant to what kids are doing today. You know what I mean? It's an option. It's a variable that can exist in contemporary music. But I really feel like, if there was a young person, trying to get into music, that you'd probably get Ableton, or you'd get Logic, or you'd get, get a computer and start producing and making sounds, because you have a whole world of sounds at your fingertips with new computer programs and things like that. And if you want to, piss and moan and be like, well, that's not how it was done in my day, it's like, well, yeah, but your day was also 20 years after that day, and that day came after that day. And we're all, anybody that's living today and espousing authenticity about the blues or the thing, you know what I mean? It's just, it's just a different time. It's just different. Rock and roll was 60 years ago, you know what I mean? Whatever those things are, it's like, we can all have fun doing it. You can still listen to it, you can still enjoy it. But I mean, to like have a pissing match over like equipment and analog, I just don't think it's relevant in any way. Talk about trite.
Well, but then that stuff all switches too, because then like a couple years ago in pop music, a bunch of the younger pop kids or whatever who were
people
rapping and singing whatever started making like pop punk songs that sounded like Avril Lavigne, or like
classic rock artist Avril Lavigne,
Olivia Rodrigo. It's totally like pop punk, kind of like to the nth degree, but still like kind of guitar music, it's like, and
it's a color.
Smith.
It's
Smith, that she like has she's got a guitar with or she plays the St. Vincent Annie guitar from Ernie Ball or Music Man, and
it's great.
She made like a pop punk record, and
no, it's not to say it's completely off the table, but you know what I mean? Or a band like the Linda Lindas, or like any younger band that's, it's learning this kind of stuff. The one thing I didn't know that I recently learned was that like those, 1/4-inch cables, guitar cables, or what we know, it's really telephone technology. It's really from like telephone patch bays. That's what that like the cable system comes from, is like from like the 20s and 30s, or the rise of like the telephone thing, and like how do you connect
when they're like
exactly, that old style operators. That's what those 1/4-inch cables are, and we plug them in now into a guitar, into a tubed amplifier again, which again is like technology from pre-World War II technology.
That's amazing. I love that.
Or like our understanding of electronics and within music to that degree of that level of stuff is like it was old when it was new. It was old.
Yeah.
Like in the
Like,
50s and 60s, you know what I mean? In the sense of like rock and roll being invented by this thing. It's like, yeah, but you're using stuff that was like created for like big band era people and for like connecting, Rockefeller 213 to, Murray Hill 8. If you had a phone number that started with a name and it wasn't just all numbers, then that's what you have when you plug in your guitar. That's what
they were actually looking at your name on the box and plugging it straight into your name.
Yeah, but then you'd have a party line. Everybody, your 4 neighbors all had to share the line, so you never know like who you'd have to like. I'm expecting a call.
I'd love to watch
the history of telephones.
About the history of telephones. I have no idea how those ever happened or how that ever even worked.
It's a funny one. Yeah. Well, that's part of it. Part of the.
I've started on my journey.
Yeah, well, it was a thing too. I'm trying to think. This is all just like armchair knowledge, but I think there was like, I remember. I should look it up. But I think it was like Tesla had it before Alexander Graham Bell. You know what I mean? Or even though like there was stuff, there was inventors, the technology existed, but it's like where the patents were put down and what was actually able to be sold, versus the actual discovery of those things.
Yeah,
even like the
Tesla.
Same with the radio. Everything. I think there's a lot in there. Well, it's Elon Musk. He knows. He can do no wrong. He knows what he's doing, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Of course.
All hail Elon.
Yeah. Speaking of rockets, did you see the rocket that went up?
It went down? Did it go up and down or no?
No, it just went up, and then everyone was posting photos. And again, it was one of those things of like, we don't even really care about. Like, there's a huge rocket going into space that's gonna like make this crazy trail in the sky, and we don't even hear about it. You see it later on Instagram. Like, I missed the rocket.
I feel like there's so much space junk out there. Like, stop with the rockets.
There's a lot of space, though. I don't know.
It's true.
People keep saying all that stuff's going to hit everything. I'm like, there's a lot. I mean, it's like trying to throw a baseball into, I don't know. I don't know what it's like.
A baseball into the ocean?
Into the ocean from my house.
Yeah.
Which is not anywhere near the ocean.
Oh, that sounds good. All right. Well, next week we'll be back with the one and only Devin Williams. I believe will be our next guest.
Yes.
We will discuss his career and his rise to stardom at an early young age and reinvention as a somber thinking man's singer-songwriter.
Yes.
And then
another person who I have to go listen to. I haven't listened to for a while.
Yeah.
I have to go get my brain right.
Everybody, fire up your Devin Williams Spotify. He's on there. Oscar, OSKER is his first band. Yeah. We have a whole Devin Williams party next week.
Oh, that'd be fun.
All right, man. It's not next week. It's this Thursday. What am I thinking? This is the Monday, the 8th, of course. With the solar eclipses happening. 4 days from now, Devin Williams will be beaming to your ears via Tesla-enabled technology. Yeah,
and then we will be talking about it 1 week from now.
1 week from today, which is everyone knows will be April the
something 15th.
Yeah, the 15th, of course.
Dang,
that's
15th.
Perfect. We have to get your taxes done. Hopefully, we'll all have our taxes done before then. Remember last year? Didn't they move all the dates for the taxes? They were due in like June. Are they back to April now?
Made it so much easier. Yeah.
Is it still a thing? I almost felt like it was the kind of thing where like they were just going to do away with that, just like kind of rolling due date.
I love that they did it because for us it kind of made sense because we got so much snow that we were kind of locked down for a month. But you guys got so much rain, and they're like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to push taxes for like 4 months or till October, right? And it was like, wait, they can just push taxes?
Can we just like not have taxes for like,
we just
50 years
all the time?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right. See everybody on Thursday. Take care.
All right. See you, Randy.
Well, did it work? This is not stopping. Stop.
I'm still recording.
I'm pressing stop.
Uh-oh.
I'm leaving this all in. Let's see. Is yours uploaded? Mine's up 99% uploaded. Stop.
I'm 99% uploaded.
Uh-oh.
We could just keep talking and then it will upload.
There's a glitch in the mainframe. I can't even, I'm not in control of my computer anymore. What's happening? Chrome has gone down. I can't get to Finder. Hold on.
Maybe we've been having these conversations in a vacuum this whole time, and actually all the interesting shit that's happening is going on over here.